guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue on with our read-along of Guardian, so let's jump right into it. Chapter 27. On the day of the trip, Zhao Yunlan's face is stiff as a death mask until they arrive at the airport. When that human doll arrived at number 4 Bright Avenue, even the delivery boy on his way out could hear Zhao Yunlan's furious roar. Go Chang Cheng! Did you have a portable toilet for a brain? Go Chang Cheng, not used to a furious Chief Zhao, was too frightened to say a word. Da Qing curiously pawed the human doll, triggering some sort of switch. The doll let out a very realistic and indecent moan. Da Qing jumped, and Zhao Yunlan's face turned blue. He pointed at the doll, unable to form words for half a minute. Go Chang Cheng cowered meekly against the wall like a petrified little mouse. With difficulty, Zhao Yunlan swallowed down his anger and said weakly to Zhu Hong, "Can you put some clothes on it?" He realized that this didn't make it right, but before he could come with anything better, his phone rang. "Ugh, F this," he mumbled, bashing the door open and stomping outside. Zhu Hong turned to Go Chang Cheng. "You've pissed him off so much that he's unable to speak. Good job." But Go Chang Cheng was unable to speak too. Lin Jing patted him on the shoulder. "I just realized, Xiao Gou, you're a real brave man." Go Chang Cheng was on the verge of tears. Chu Shizhi silently picked up Da Qing and covered the cat's eyes. With his usual expression of contempt and indifference, he turned away from these indecent things. Sometime later, when they were almost on their way out, Zhu Hong took out a big bag and stuffed the doll inside. Staring off into space, she said, "Hang in there and stay in the revealing mirror for a little while longer. You can come out when the plane has landed." A cloud of white mist flew out from the watch on Zhao Yunlan's wrist and flew around Zhu Hong and finally stopped in front of her, revealing the faint figure of a young girl. She was visibly worn out. Clearly, it was uncomfortable for a ghost to be so close to Zhao Yunlan. "Just pretend I passed out on the plane," Wang Zheng said quietly, and looks at her future body with condemnation. Go Chang Cheng didn't dare look up. Eventually, the whole criminal investigations team of number 4 Bright Avenue have shamelessly come along on the trip. Bored to death with no work to do, they're determined to find out what made Zhao Yunlan's lazy ass leave his office. But nobody dares to irritate the pissed-off chief on the trip. Da Qing has even transformed into a cat-shaped pendant and is quietly hanging on Zhu Hong's phone like a charm. The chief looks like he wants to hijack the plane. Until run into Shen Wei and his students at the airport. The team watches as Chief Zhao's stormy expression turns instantly. Without hesitation, he abandons his colleagues and strides towards the man surrounded by students, pretending that this encounter wasn't meticulously planned. "Shen Wei, what a coincidence!" Shen Wei's eyes sparkle, but Zhao Yunlan can't tell if it is with pleasant surprise or unpleasant shock. An uncomfortable pause later, Shen Wei nods, adjusting his glasses. "Officer Zhao." Zhu Hong watches them and realization dawns. In the sheltered crowd of students and their teacher, Zhao Yunlan quickly takes control. Before Shen Wei can say anything, he's managed to worm out of the students their destination and the details of their project. Zhao Yunlan smiles and says, "It takes way more than 10 hours to get to River Village. How do you guys plan to go there?" Shen Wei instantly knows he's got an ulterior motive, but the students are too gullible. Before he can speak, the class captain answers, "We'll take the bus." "I know which bus you mean. It only makes one trip per day and leaves at 6 a.m. It doesn't even take you directly to River Village." Zhao Yunlan seizes his chance, waiting for her to take the bait. The class captain hesitates. "I checked the map. We could get off midway and it shouldn't take long to walk." "For your small physiques, I guess it'll take around 5 hours. Zhao Yunlan leans backwards, checking Shen Wei from the corner of his eye. "The map doesn't show you how rugged the mountain ranges can be. You might need to detour several times. And when I say 5 hours, that's assuming you don't get lost. It'll be nighttime when you get off the bus, so you'll probably have to camp out. It's been really cold recently. Can you imagine sleeping in the snow?" As expected, the students start to discuss frantically. Zhao Yunlan finds Shen Wei half smiling at him, and he's slightly embarrassed that his plan had been uncovered. He rubs his nose and coughs. "All right, calm down, guys. How about this? I have a few friends out there who can rent us some cars, and we can go together. What do you think?" The class captain says, That's too troublesome for you, isn't it? Zhao Yulan waves it off and takes out his phone. He wraps his arm around Shenwei's shoulders and winks at the class captain. How can it be troublesome? My relationship with your teacher is... Shenwei turns his head and stares at him blandly. What relationship? Zhao Yulan is stuck, held fast by Shenwei's gaze. This question, if he understates it, he's ruining his own plans, but if he overstates it, he'll come across as shameless. He hesitates before saying, Neighbors! Remember, kids, treat your neighbors kindly, and they might be closer to you than your relatives. Isn't that right, Professor Shen? Shenwei gives him a helpless smile, and the cunning Chief Zhao is instantly stunned by it. Thanks, Zhao Yulan hears him say. What are you thanking me for? Zhao Yulan straightens and says solicitously. Oh right, you guys probably haven't eaten yet. Wait here. Shenwei tries to stop him, but Zhao Yulan is already walking away. Shortly, Zhao Yulan comes back, carrying several large plastic bags. He stuffs two in Go Changcheng's hand on the way. Oh, wow. Shu Shuzhi says, I thought he'd already forgotten about us. Lin Jing apologizes routinely to his fried chicken leg. Amitabha, forgive me. Then this fake monk starts tearing into the chicken leg and washes it down with Coke. The food in Go Changcheng's hands has quickly been divided among the group, and just as he's standing there like an idiot, someone hands him a hamburger. It's Zhu Hong. She isn't looking at him, but at Zhao Yunlan, who says something, and the crowd laughs. It seems this guy is always the center of attention wherever he goes. Go Changcheng says, Thanks. No problem. Zhu Hong interrupts him. Who's that guy? Go Changcheng realizes she's talking about Shenwei. Oh, that's Professor from Dragon City University. Last time during the Hungry Ghost case, when Chief Zhao wasn't there, he helped us fight off the ghost, but the chief says he won't remember that incident. Zhu Hong studies him and mumbles. He's a professor already? He looks very young, but he can't be that young if he's a professor. He'd be married with kids, right? Go Changcheng scratches his head. How would I know? Zhu Hong glances at him and then back at Zhao Yunlan. Shenwei picks up a chicken nugget and Zhao Yunlan instantly opens the sauce packet and hands it to him. His eyes are tender like still water, and he seems like a completely different person from this morning's grumpy and furious chief. Okay, seems like he's single. Zhu Hong keeps observing for a while and concludes. That jerk is shameless as hell, but he never hits on anyone who's married. Oh gods, get a room! Zhu Hong and Go Changcheng are both watching as Zhao Yunlan's phone rings again like a hotline. He holds his drink in one hand, takes out his phone with the other, and bites at a french fry in Shenwei's hand at lightning speed. He gobbles it down and licks his lips while looking at Shenwei. The professor awkwardly retracts his empty fingers. Go Changcheng's expression turns from dumb to astonished. And so, the entire SIU team are abandoned by their chief for the whole 3-hour flight. Zhao Yunlan uses the excuse of wanting to listen to Professor Shen talk to the students about River Village to switch to a seat near Shenwei. Finally, the plane lands and they arrive at the city nearest to their destination. Just after leaving the airport, before they even have time to realize how cold it is at high altitude, a fat, cowardly-looking middle-aged man climbs out of one jeep in a row of many and holds up a sign that says Chief Zhao. Zhao Yunlan leads the two groups over there. When the fat guy sees him, he's hesitant at first, but he soon smiles in realization and greets Zhao Yunlan warmly. Chief Zhao, it's you, isn't it? I see how smart you look, and I know you're definitely the chief. Oh, what chief? Don't call me that. Zhao Yunlan offers a handshake with both hands. We don't know our way around here. Luckily, we've got you. Langa. We'll feel much safer. Fat Langa shakes his head vigorously. Xie Yuanming called me and told me to send some cars. I said, how could that be appropriate? Brother Xie is one of my best friends, and his friend is also my friend. Of course I had to come in person. Zhao Yunlan pretends to be surprised. Oh, really? You're such good friends with Brother Xie? Brother Lang says, Of course! We swore to brotherhood when we were drinking one time. Zhao Yunlan points a finger at him, looking serious. Well, this is your fault then. Brother Xie's brother is my brother. And what did you call me just now? How can we be so formal? Brother Lang looks blank for a second, then finds his feet and smiles. Of course, my bad. That's great. Now I can tell people I have a brother who's a police chief from Dragon City. What an honor. Come on, let's get you settled. The two keep going back and forth, and nobody else has a chance to say anything. Shenwei's students just exchange glances. Zhuhong follows them and whispers to Daqing, who's still hanging on her phone. Right, now I understand how Manager Song became his brother-in-law. End of chapter 27. So, Zhao Yunlan finally sees the doll that Go Changcheng had ordered online, and he is furious and embarrassed. And everyone feels really bad for poor Go Changcheng because we know he didn't mean to, but he's just kind of slow like that. And so now poor Wang Zheng has to use the blow-up doll as her temporary vessel. But wow, Shenwei shows up with his students and Zhao Yunlan does a completely 180. He's all smiles, acting like he was never ever mad, and tries his best to kiss up to Shenwei's students by offering them transportation and buying them food and snacks and acting like he's really close to Shenwei and trying to earn some brownie points, you know? Zhuheng and Go Changcheng are off to the side watching this and are completely disgusted by his blatant flirtations with Shenwei, thinking that he's really shameless. And then after they're on the plane, they land and they're greeted by someone that Zhao Yunlan was able to contact using his connections. So Zhao Yunlan is really good at networking, let's say. That's a plus for him. Okay, let's continue on to the next chapter. Chapter 28. Shenwei and his group are all puzzled at Zhao Yunlan as Zhao Yunlan pulls them along with Brother Long, who treats them to a lavish meal and has them stay at the only local 5-star hotel. The next morning, with the sky still gloomy, 3 jeeps arrive at the entrance of the hotel. In the back of the jeeps are winter clothes, outdoor gear, high-energy foods, and first aid kits, all new and in their packaging. They have everything a professional research team would need. Zhao Yunlan doesn't look embarrassed or grateful at all. He gladly accepts the tremendous help and tells Lin Jing to give each of the chauffeurs a cigarette. He has a good chat with Brother Long, who has come to see them off. Brother Long is enthusiastic and doesn't seem to feel the effects of all the wine they have drunk at all, except for his face being puffed up. He pats Zhao Yunlan vigorously on the shoulder with his bare paw. My good younger brother, off you go. I haven't treated you well enough, please understand. This place is so small. Zhao Yunlan glares at him. You're getting formal on me again? Brother Long, if you visit Dragon City in the future, I'll welcome you with all I can offer. We can call Brother Xie too, and the 3 of us will have a great time. They bid each other farewell, and Zhao Yunlan turns around to Shenwei. The drive through the mountains isn't easy, and the kids have poor skills. I'm worried. How about Lin Jing, Zhuhong, and I each drive a car, and we separate the students into groups? What do you think? Even a paid tour guide wouldn't be so diligent and considerate. If Shenwei rejected him, that would seem a bit insensitive. But Shenwei isn't as shameless as Zhao Yunlan. He's rather embarrassed that Zhao Yunlan went to all this trouble. I didn't plan ahead for the trip, and I really troubled you. Besides, I don't even know Mr. Long, and this must have cost him a great deal. Do you think we should send him something after this? Zhao Yunlan waves his hand generously. No, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay for all of this, and you don't have to thank me. Shenwei is speechless. They stop at a red light, and Zhao Yunlan turns aside and smiles at Shenwei, revealing dimples. Shenwei's face flushes, and he glances at the students behind them. They're both excitedly looking out of the window, so Shenwei relaxes a little. Zhao Yunlan's heart quivers, and he decides to go one further. He reaches out and adjusts Shenwei's shirt collar a little. Then, as if unintentionally, he touches Shenwei's ear as well. Shenwei has yet to react when he withdraws his hand. Your collar was flipped. He fixes the rear view mirror and looks forward as if nothing happened. This time, Shenwei's ears are bright red. The lights turn green. Zhao Yunlan steps on the gas and concentrates on driving, but his mouth curves up suspiciously. Shenwei looks out of the window as if bashful, but he faces away, so Zhao Yunlan is just guessing since he cannot see it. The redness gradually wears away and his face turns pale. Shenwei always seems to be frowning, a line deepening between his brows. Every now and then, his gentle face shows some coldness, solitary and distant. Driving in the mountains is exhausting. The roads are bumpy and dizzying. After 6 or 7 hours, the students are all asleep. Shenwei doesn't dare to close his eyes. He needs to keep an eye on the driver, lest he fall asleep, especially a driver who drank so much last night. As they move on, the roads get narrower and rougher, with more hairpin bends. The cliff edge is only about a meter away from the wheels, and there's not even a guardrail, just a sheer drop for the careless. Luckily, Brother Long's cars are high quality, and although Zhao Yulan looks like an unreliable guy, his driving is steady. The temperature drops as they get farther up into the mountains, so that they feel it despite the air conditioning. Thick layers of snow cover the roads. Fewer and fewer people can be seen along the way, and there are more and more snowdrifts. The gap between the three cars begins to widen. Zhao Yulan slows down, then carefully brings the car to a halt. The other two follow suit. "The roads ahead are getting tougher. I think we should put on snow chains." Zhao Yulan opens the door and says to Shenwei, "It's cold outside. Stay in the car." Shenwei ignores him and jumps out to help. Not only is it bitterly cold, but the wind is howling. Not even a thick down jacket could protect you from this chilling gale, let alone Zhao Yulan's fashionable coat. The two students in the back seat wake up and come out to help as well. Zhao Yulan urges them to get back inside. "I don't need your help. Get back inside. You'll catch a cold out here." The two men quickly chain up the tires, feeling like their fingers are about to freeze. Zhao Yulan straightens up and looks into the distance, at the magnificent mountain range with its snowy peaks that look as though they're merging with the sky. They get back inside, and Zhao Yulan makes a phone call to each of the other two cars. He reminds them of snow and ice driving safety precautions and stresses. "We're entering a glacier area. Stay quiet and don't honk without reason. Beware of avalanches." The mountains around them are completely covered with snow and ice. The sun begins to drift westward, and the sky grows dimmer and dimmer. Then the darkness falls, and the wheel tracks fade, and the desolate cold begins to rise. The distant glaciers are getting closer, their shapes becoming more and more obscure. Only at the summit, a cold light from nowhere is reflected in a flash, then disappears. Zhao Yulan has turned on the headlights. The idle chatter between him and Shenwei has stopped at some point, since Shenwei doesn't dare distract him. The car moves slowly. The chain tires tread precariously through layers of snowfall. An endless cliff is facing them, and in the sheer whiteness there's nothing much to see other than the occasional gray-brown rock. The ridges wear a snowy cloak and light up the sky like a beacon. The students in the back are too afraid to go out. Eventually, it is dark. The two students sitting behind them are the red-clothed class captain and a bespectacled boy. Spectacles quietly ask Shenwei, "Professor, will we make it out of the mountains tonight? Will we find a place to stay?" Before Shenwei can answer, Zhao Yulan beats him to it. "Don't worry, River Village is nearby. We're almost there, but..." A light shining into his eyes interrupts him. He frowns and carefully stops the car. The class captain asks nervously, "What's wrong? Is it the car?" Shenwei waves her question aside. "The car is fine. There's a light ahead. You guys stay here. I'll take a look." Zhao Yulan asks, "You see it too?" They exchange a grave look. The girl senses the weird atmosphere. Is it a street light? "There are no street lights around here." Zhao Yulan turns around. "You stay in your seats. There's chocolate and beef jerky. Have some if you're hungry." That said, he opens the door and gets out, Shenwei in his wake. The wind has stopped at some point, but the temperature keeps dropping. The air isn't the pure cold of snow and ice, but the kind of wet cold that sinks into your bones and your core. It's utterly quiet, not even the sound of a breeze or of snowfall. Subconsciously, they keep their footsteps light as they move forward. The shining light is also cold, flickering occasionally like someone carrying a lantern. It's reminiscent of ancient funerals with their white paper lanterns, and it seems to be moving closer. Zhao Yulan's eyes widen. He quickly opens the door and shoves Shenwei back into the car. To the other two cars, he gestures, "Stay in the car and don't come out." Then he swiftly gets inside too and locks the doors. The light is getting even closer now, and a few silhouettes become visible. Zhao Yulan turns around and says to the two students, "No matter what you see, don't say a word, don't stick your face against the window, and don't make a sound." The glass windows are fogged up. Only the windshield, cleaned by the wipers, offers a clear view. Approaching them is a crowd led by someone holding a lantern, all slowly walking towards the cars. They are men and women, young and old, but all of them look ragged and miserable, as though they're escaping from a disaster. So many people. Why would they be walking there? "Who are these people?" the class captain asks in a tremulous whisper. "They're not people." Zhao Yulan lowers his voice. "They're war spirits." The girl covers her mouth, and she can see the faces of the people. They're dull-eyed, with terrible wounds. The figure leading the way with a paper lantern, he or she doesn't have a face. They wear a very tall hat which covers their head all the way down to their chin. The figure is snow white, like it's made of paper paste. Its legs and shoulders are motionless, its body stiff. It looks like it floats in the wind like a dying kite. It doesn't look at the road, but straight at Zhao Yunlan's car. Through the misted-up car window, the girl sees the paper figure bow twice towards them, and Zhao Yunlan nods in response. The figure floats on, and the group follows, moving along the mountain path. When they're out of sight, Zhao Yunlan gets out of the car and takes a torch out of the back. "Something might have happened over here," he says to Shenwei. "I'll go take a look. You keep an eye on the children." Shenwei can't help but frown. Zhao Yunlan takes his hand. It's so cold that it immediately absorbs his warmth, making Zhao Yunlan feel tender and protective. "Don't frown," he says. "Everything will be fine." End of chapter 28. Okay, so they begin on their journey up the mountain. They're taking the jeeps that they borrowed from Uncle Lang, and or Brother Lang, I should say. They're driving along, and as they drive, the path gets narrower and narrower, and the cliff gets steeper, and they have to drive more slowly because it gets snowy. They have to put on snow tires, and then they encounter a light in the distance. Now, they don't really know what it is, but then Zhao Yunlan realizes that it's actually spirits, and so he quickly tells everyone to get back into their cars and to not make any sounds, not to alert the spirits. So they just wait until they pass, and then they continue on their journey. So they're suspicious that if there's this group of war-torn spirits walking down this path, something must have happened up ahead. Could it be maybe related to Wang Zheng, since they were originally coming to this area to check out Wang Zheng's grave? Maybe. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's read-along. Other than that, I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.